Every gun owner says their firearm will survive the apocalypse, and almost none of them are right, because they're thinking about the first week. I'm thinking about week 50. When the carbon's baked in, the oil's gone, and you're feeding it ammo that would make a range officer flinch. I ranked 7 guns by one brutal standard, and number 1 isn't the toughest, the prettiest, or the most expensive. It's the one that forgives you for everything. This video is for educational purposes only and does not promote harm or unsafe use of firearms. Number 7. SAR9 Compact X. The SAR9 Compact X feels like the kind of pistol people underestimate right up until they spend serious range time with it. Then opinions change fast. What makes this handgun interesting isn't flashy branding or massive marketing campaigns. It's how unexpectedly solid the entire platform feels once rounds start moving downrange. The grip contouring immediately stands out because the gun settles naturally into the hand with a level of comfort many compact striker-fired pistols struggle to achieve. During rapid-fire strings, the recoil impulse stays surprisingly balanced for a carry-sized handgun, and the slide tracks consistently enough that sight recovery feels smooth instead of snappy or unpredictable. That matters because compact handguns often become difficult to control once shooting speed increases, but the SR9 Compact X manages to stay composed without feeling oversized. The trigger also deserves more attention than it usually gets. It has a clean break with a reset that feels quick enough for controlled follow-up shots while still maintaining a very duty-oriented character. And honestly, the pistol just feels durable. The frame texture stays secure during long sessions, the controls are straightforward, and the overall construction gives off a very confidence-inspiring mechanical feel. In a world where many shooters automatically chase expensive names, the SAR9 quietly built a reputation among people who actually run their guns hard. That's why it earned a spot here. Because when conditions get ugly, simplicity and consistency start mattering more than branding. Number 6. Beretta 92 FS. The Beretta 92 FS carries a completely different energy than modern polymer striker-fired pistols. The moment you pick it up, the all-metal frame changes the shooting experience immediately. There's weight to it, balance, a smoothness that almost feels mechanical in a way newer handguns rarely replicate anymore. And once you start firing, the reason this pistol earned decades of military and law enforcement respect becomes obvious fast. The recoil impulse has this rolling softness to it that keeps the gun incredibly stable during rapid fire, especially compared to lighter compact handguns. Follow-up shots feel natural because the pistol simply doesn't snap violently in the hand. The open slide design also gives the gun one of the smoothest cycling characteristics in the handgun world, which contributes heavily to its reputation for dependable feeding and extraction over long shooting sessions. But what truly makes the 92 FS special in a worst-case scenario discussion is its proven history. This platform has survived military service, harsh environments, rough handling, and years of continuous use across the globe. And despite its age, the pistol still feels incredibly shootable today. The long sight radius helps precision shooting, the trigger smooths out beautifully with use, and the oversized grip gives shooters a very planted feeling during recoil management. In an era obsessed with ultra-light carry pistols and optics-ready trends, the Beretta almost feels timeless. Not because it's trendy, but because it earned trust the hard way. Number 5. Shadow Systems CR920 XL. The CR920 XL feels like a concealed carry pistol designed by people who were tired of compromising. Most micro-compacts force shooters to sacrifice something: controllability, capacity, comfort, shootability. But this gun tries to close that gap in a very noticeable way. The extended slide and improved grip geometry completely change how the pistol behaves during live fire. Instead of feeling twitchy or abrupt like many smaller carry guns, the CR920 XL tracks with a much flatter shooting impulse that makes fast sight reacquisition surprisingly easy. The optics-ready setup also feels purpose-built rather than added as an afterthought. Red dots sit low, presentation feels natural, and transitions between targets stay smooth once the shooter settles into rhythm. But the real magic here is the ergonomics. Shadow Systems clearly studied what experienced concealed carriers wanted from modern EDC pistols because the texture, undercut, and frame contouring all work together beautifully. Even during longer range sessions, the pistol avoids the harsh hand fatigue smaller handguns often create. And despite its compact footprint, the gun still gives shooters enough purchase to run aggressive drills confidently. That balance between concealability and practical shootability is difficult to engineer well, which is exactly why the CR920 XL stands out in a crowded market. It feels refined, intentional, built for people who genuinely train with their carry guns instead of simply storing them loaded inside a drawer. And when you're talking about firearms that still inspire confidence when things get uncertain, that distinction matters. Number 4. FN57. The FN57 still feels futuristic even years after its introduction, and part of that comes from how differently it behaves compared to traditional handguns. The first thing shooters notice is the weight, or more accurately, the lack of it. The pistol feels incredibly light in the hand for its overall size, yet once firing begins, recoil remains remarkably soft and controlled. That combination creates a shooting experience unlike almost anything else on the market. Rapid follow-up shots become extremely fast because the gun barely disrupts the sight picture during cycling. It almost feels like the pistol wants to stay on target. Then there's the magazine capacity, which completely changes the personality of the platform. Having that amount of onboard ammunition without turning the gun into an oversized brick gives the 5.7 a very unique tactical identity. But what really earns this pistol a place in discussions about worst-case readiness is its mechanical consistency during extended shooting sessions. The controls feel oversized and easy to manipulate, the slide movement stays smooth, and the platform was clearly engineered around speed and controllability rather than traditional handgun conventions. Some shooters dismiss it because of the cartridge. Others absolutely swear by it after spending serious trigger time behind one. Either way, the pistol carved out a loyal following for a reason. It's fast, lightweight, accurate, and surprisingly easy to run efficiently once you understand the platform. And in situations where mobility and capacity suddenly matter a lot more than aesthetics, the 5.7 starts making serious sense. Number 3. Shadow Systems DR920. The DR920 feels like what happens when a company studies thousands of Glock modifications and decides to build the upgraded version straight from the factory. Everything about the pistol feels tuned toward performance. The frame texture locks aggressively into the hand without becoming abrasive. The undercut allows an extremely high grip, and the slide design gives the gun a very fast, responsive shooting character once you start pushing speed. During rapid-fire drills, the pistol tracks flatter than many standard striker-fired handguns because the recoil impulse feels controlled and linear instead of sharp or erratic. That creates an almost effortless rhythm when transitioning between targets. But where the DR920 really separates itself is in its overall refinement. The trigger has a cleaner break than many duty-style pistols, the optics system integrates naturally into the slide design, and the sight picture stays incredibly easy to track under recoil. It feels like a handgun built specifically for shooters who train aggressively and expect fast performance without sacrificing practical dependability. And despite all the premium touches, the gun still maintains the straightforward simplicity that made polymer striker-fired platforms dominant in the first place. No unnecessary gimmicks, no complicated controls, just a modern fighting pistol optimized for efficiency. In difficult conditions, that combination becomes extremely valuable because shooters don't need to fight the handgun itself. The DR920 simply feels ready to work the moment it leaves the holster, and that confidence is exactly why so many experienced shooters trust it as a serious defensive platform. Number 2. FNX-45 Tactical. The FNX-45 Tactical feels less like a standard handgun and more like a purpose-built combat platform. The size alone tells you immediately this pistol was never designed around concealment trends or minimalist carry culture. It was designed to dominate space, and once you start shooting it, the entire personality of the gun becomes clear. Despite chambering 45 ACP, the recoil impulse feels surprisingly manageable because the large frame absorbs movement exceptionally well. Instead of sharp muzzle rise, the gun pushes rearward with a slower, more controlled motion that keeps the sights usable during fast strings of fire. The fully ambidextrous controls also stand out immediately because everything feels oversized, accessible, and easy to manipulate even during stressful reloads or awkward shooting positions. Then there's the capacity. For a taut, 45 ACP handgun, the onboard round count still feels impressive today, which gives the FNX-45 Tactical a completely different presence compared to traditional single-stack pot 45 pistols. Add the threaded barrel, optics-ready capability, and suppressor height sights, and the pistol starts feeling like a complete fighting system instead of just another handgun. But what really gives the FNX-45 its reputation is durability. This pistol feels massively overbuilt in the best possible way. The slide cycles with authority, the frame feels incredibly robust, and the gun carries that unmistakable, serious use energy the moment you run it hard. It's big, heavy, aggressive, and absolutely built for difficult conditions. Number 1. Glock 19 Gen 5. The Glock 19 Gen 5 earned this spot because at some point, consistency becomes more important than hype. And very few handguns in modern history built a reputation for consistency like this one. The genius of the Glock 19 has always been balance. It's compact enough for concealed carry, large enough for serious training, lightweight enough for all-day use, and controllable enough that experienced shooters can run it extremely hard without losing efficiency. The Gen 5 improvements only sharpened that formula further. The trigger feels smoother than earlier generations, the grip profile became more adaptable for different hand sizes, and the revised barrel design tightened accuracy without sacrificing the platform's famously simple operation. But what truly separates the Glock 19 in worst-case discussions is how little mental energy the gun requires from the shooter. Draw it, present it, fire it, reload it. Everything feels intuitive after repetition. The recoil impulse stays neutral and predictable, which allows fast sight recovery during rapid strings, and the pistol remains incredibly forgiving during extended practice sessions. Then there's the support system surrounding the platform itself. Parts availability, magazine compatibility, holsters, optics cuts, aftermarket upgrades, armorer knowledge. The Glock ecosystem became almost impossible to rival. That matters when long-term practicality enters the conversation, because the gun isn't just proven, it's supported everywhere. And when people talk about firearms they trust when everything else starts becoming uncertain, the Glock 19 Gen 5 almost always finds its way into that conversation for one simple reason. It keeps showing up when people need it most. When people talk about SHTF firearms, most focus on hype, looks, or internet trends. But the guns on this list earned respect because shooters trust them when conditions stop being comfortable. So now I want to know, which one would you carry if everything fell apart tomorrow? Drop your answer below and subscribe for more cinematic firearm breakdowns every week.